Let's be real, if you're releasing music in 2025 and you're still struggling to get noticed, I can almost guarantee it's not because your music isn't good enough. It's because you're not playing the game the right way. I've seen it too many times, artists dropping music, promoting it once or twice, and watching it fade into the void while they move on to the next song. No growth, no traction, just another release that goes nowhere. If that sounds familiar, stick with me because in this video, I'm breaking down the hard truths about releasing music in 2025 that most artists do not want to hear. Now, before we get into it, let me introduce myself real quick. My name is Anthony Pacheco, and I help independent artists grow their audience, get more streams, and actually make money from their music. So if you're feeling stuck, this video is going to save you years of frustration. Now, let's get into it. Streaming isn't your enemy, it's actually your biggest opportunity. And I get it, many artists complain Spotify doesn't pay enough and that they're ruining the industry. But here's the deal, while the payout per stream might be small, streaming has completely changed the game for independent artists. Think about it, before streaming, you were stuck selling CDs or hoping to get signed by a label. Now, your music can be heard by millions across the globe without needing anybody's permission. The challenge isn't the platform, it's actually getting people to listen to your music. Speaking from personal experience, I started as an artist myself. My band Dwellings got signed, we charted on Billboard, and I thought, this is it, we made it. But what I learned real quick is that labels don't actually build out a fan base for you. If you don't already have an audience, they're not going to just create one for you. That's your job. So I had to figure it out myself. How do you actually market music? How do you get people to care? And that's when I started Simple, my marketing agency. And since then, I've helped out artists like Toyko, The Funeral Portrait, Glimmers, and Youre grow from struggling for streams to putting in tens of thousands of monthly listeners, selling out shows, and building actual careers in music. For example, when we worked at The Funeral Portrait, they had amazing songs and a killer aesthetic, but their streaming numbers were falling short. We turned that around by running targeted ad campaigns to reach listeners who truly connected with their music, creating a content strategy on platforms like TikTok and Instagram, and analyzing the data from the posts in order to scale what actually worked. Their weekly streams jumped from under 145,000 to almost 500,000. Of that, most of the growth came from algorithmic playlists on Spotify. They didn't beg for playlist spots, they built real traction, and the algorithm rewarded them. So if you want the same for your music, click the link in the description. So remember, streaming isn't holding you back. The real work is in understanding how to get your music noticed in a sea of content, and that starts with you taking control of your own marketing. Now that we've seen how streaming opens the doors to endless opportunities, it's time to face another reality. The moment you release your music, you're stepping into the role of a business owner. Like it or not, you're running a business. Running a business isn't optional. It's the reality every artist faces once you put your music on platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, or any other streaming service. The moment your music goes digital, you're not just an artist, you're running a business. And if you don't treat it like one, you risk getting played. This is the truth that most artists refuse to accept. I've seen musicians with viral moments, hundreds, even thousands, even millions of plays, yet they end up making almost no money because they didn't understand royalties, they didn't understand contracts, or even marketing. They signed bad record label deals without really digging into the fine print. They had no plan to convert casual listeners into dedicated fans and relied solely on playlist placements or viral moments. And when the hype faded, so did their careers. Let me share with you how I treated my band Dwellings like a real business. When we got signed, we didn't just sit back and hope for that the label would handle everything. I knew from the start that if we really wanted to succeed, we had to take control of our marketing, our branding, and audience growth. So instead of just dropping music and waiting for streams to magically come in, we did exactly what every artist should be doing right now. First, we learned exactly where our money was coming from. I broke down our royalty structures, understood how streaming payouts worked, and made sure we were maximizing our revenue streams across the board. Second, we built our own audience outside of playlists. A lot of artists live and die by playlist placements, but that's very, very risky. Sure, being added to a big playlist is fantastic, but what happens when you get removed? Your streams vanish overnight. Not to mention, playlists are actually losing their market share in terms of where music fans actually actually discover music. They're mainly discovering music through TikTok and so on and so forth. We also focus on directly connecting with fans through social media content, marketing, and really just wanted to find real listeners who genuinely cared about our music. And this is the real game changer here. We actually invested in marketing. I started studying digital ads, content strategy, and different audience growth tactics. Instead of just hoping that people would find our music, we actively put it in front of the right people through paid media on Instagram and Facebook. We also created a system that turned casual listeners into lifelong fans. So rather than treating each song as a one-time drop, we made sure that every listener had a clear path to dive even deeper, whether it was joining an email list, following us on Facebook, joining our Facebook group back in the day, and engaging with the comments. The result? We didn't just get more streams, we actually built a real fan base. Here's the difference between artists who win and artists who just get played. Most artists simply want to make music. They didn't sign up to be marketers, business owners, or entrepreneurs, but if you don't take control of your career, someone else will. And they won't always have your best interests at heart. The artists who succeed in 2025 aren't just talented, they're strategic. They know exactly where their revenue comes from. They have a plan to grow their audience beyond just waiting for playlist placements, and they turn streams into real long-term income. So let me ask you, are you going to take control of your music career, or are you going to keep waiting for someone else to do it for you? Because I promise you, nobody is coming to save you. This is your career, your art, your business, and how you treat it will determine whether you actually succeed or end up just being another artist wondering why things aren't working out for you. If you want to stop feeling stuck and start building a real sustainable career, check the link in the description of this video. I've got a ton of resources that will help. Having taken control of your music business and built your foundation, the next crucial insight is about timing. Dropping an album way too early can actually hold you back, and here's why. Let me ask you something. How many people are actually waiting for your album? If your answer is, I don't know, or not that many, then why are you dropping one? This is one of the biggest mistakes I see artists make. They spend months, even years, crafting a full-length album, perfecting every little detail, only to drop the entire thing at once to an audience that barely even exists. And what happens in the first week, you might see a small spike in streams, a handful of listeners, maybe even a playlist placement or two, and then silence. The problem isn't the album itself, it's how you release it. Instead of throwing 12 songs into the void, there's a proven method to building real momentum called the Waterfall release strategy. Here's how it works. You're gonna release singles first, one at a time, consistently. Each new single stacks on top of the previous one, which is going to retain listeners when they come across your release. Once you've built traction, you'll then package those singles into a full album. Let's break it down with a real-world example. One of the best examples of this working firsthand is when we worked with a band called Good Terms. If you're not familiar with them, they're a pop-punk emo band with insane talent and great songs, but they weren't getting the reach that they deserved. They had an entire album's worth of music ready to go when we first started working together, but instead of dropping it all at once, we took a different approach. Like I mentioned, we released multiple singles first, one at a time over several months. Each single was marketed strategically with paid ad campaigns on Instagram and Facebook, TikTok content, and also your regular playlist pitching and what have you. Every time a new song dropped, we added it to the previous single on streaming, so new fans discovered the earlier tracks too when they came across our ad campaigns. By the time the full album was dropped, the audience was primed and engaged. They weren't coming in cold. And here's what happened. Their monthly listeners and engagement grew with every new single. Instead of one big spike followed by a drop-off, their audience actually kept growing pretty steadily through the release cycles. By the time the album dropped, they already had an engaged fan base ready to listen to the rest of the piece of work. Now, why does this work? First, each single becomes a marketing event. Instead of one big announcement when you drop an album, you release 5 to 6 singles. Releasing 5 to 6 singles means you get multiple big announcements and several chances to catch new listeners, a steady stream of content that keeps your name in people's feeds as well. Second, streaming platforms reward consistency. Spotify and Apple Music push artists who release music regularly. They keep you on their release radar, discover weekly, things of that sort. And third, fans need time to get attached to your songs. People don't just fall in love with 12 songs all at once. They have to connect gradually with each track. So if you're an artist sitting on a full album's worth of music, Pick your strongest 3 to 5 songs, release them as singles first. Use the different marketing tactics that I laid out here, such as organic content and paid ads, to build your momentum. Start stacking those releases so that each new song gets added to the previous one. And then once you've built a solid audience, you can go ahead and think about releasing the full album. Simply put, albums are for fans. Singles are for discovery. That's the exact thought process that we did with Good Terms, The Funeral Portrait, and countless of other artists. Trust me, it works. For more help with building a release strategy that actually gets results, just go ahead and hit the link in the description of this video below. All in all, these truths all revolve around the same core idea. You hold the power to shape your own success. By recognizing that fear of failure or irrelevance can drive you to work harder, and tapping into the desire to build a lasting career, you'll transform these challenges into stepping stones rather than stumbling blocks. Most importantly, don't see these truths as limits, see them as a roadmap to real sustainable growth. If you found this helpful and you want to dig deeper into actionable strategies, don't forget to subscribe, stay connected with me, and I'll see you in the next one.